Good afternoon, everybody. It's LSP. It's currently the 15th of May, 2022. We'll do the usual market breakdown. And then I want to jump over to this plan, Terra Ecosystem Revival Plan. It was posted some days ago, but I just want to kind of go through and see if we can make some sense out of this and figure out whether or not this would work. Is it going to be plausible? Does it make sense for people? I know they're never going to be able to make people whole, to be honest, but we'll get to this when we get to this. For now, let's take a look at, you guys are used to seeing this chart, but what I want to do today, because I know, a few of you, or quite a few of you, may not know what all of these, these levels are denoting, what they mean. We'll go ahead and we'll use this chart and make it really simple. There was a lot of liquidity building up below here on Bitcoin, and obviously that's been traded straight through, okay, which is in a way very good. Clears everything out and then just kind of gives us a little bit of time to think and see what's going to happen next, to assess, look for these opportunities for confirmation, and then take it from there. So this upper level up here, whatever liquidity is remaining up here, okay, it was tapped into once and we had a really big response away from that. So this is absolutely key, right? Going forward, we have to be very mindful of the 48,000 level, give or take. It doesn't have to be exact, but this is what we're looking for. This is the level that price would need to clear to negate this move, to void it, and then start making its way back to the upside. Does not mean that price can't go up from here, but it means that we may get up and down and slop and back, all over the place effectively, and just kind of grinding, not really doing much until we clearly and definably get above this level and we can confirm that that is holding above this level. Not dissimilar to some of the previous studies that we've been doing on Bitcoin and Binance, okay? So going forward, have in mind the 48,000 level being the absolute key level that we really need to see price above, right? Outside of that, at the moment, we can see that we've stabilized in this area and Bitcoin's effectively bouncing around between sort of 28,000 and 30,000 and just hovering around that level. When we look at the weekly like this, we see the response, and it looks pretty decent, from a structural point of view, right? But when we go down to the daily chart, zoom out a little bit, and I'll get rid of this now, zoom out a little bit, it gets a little bit messy, right? And it also denotes, and we can see that there's no real push, at this point. Now, what's happening is, depending on what time frame you're looking at, will depend on what you're seeing, all right? And we need to be able to get multiple time frames to match up. At the moment, they're not. So the weekly, for example, looks okay. It ran down, took out liquidity, and it's stabilizing. Where there was previous levels, where price was kind of bouncing from there. And obviously we had this really nice response from that touch just there. All right, so there's some accumulation done here. It rips all the way up to the upside, it offloads, and then we've come all the way back down to and past that point of impulse, okay? So on the weekly, it looks okay. On the daily, it looks a little bit muted, no real response, nothing really happening. So we've got no pairing match there, doesn't make sense, right? But then when we go down to the 4 hour, okay, we can see how that's broken up and we can see that price has come down and it's trying to find that way, to kind of do this effectively. It's kind of this is what it's trying to do, yeah? Somehow, that's what it looks like. This is what the flow is saying based on this capitulation down here, or mini capitulation. This is not full capitulation. That's what it looks like it's trying to do, okay? And if it is, great, because that's going to push us all the way up to around about 36 and plus, which is fantastic. Again, gives the market time to breathe, gives the market time, to decide what it wants to do, and gives us an indication and a better look as to what's going to happen next. If we drop down to the hourly, we can see this broken up a little bit more, so it's fleshed out. Again, we see the drop, we see the run up, then we can start to see how price is moving to the upside. It's pulling back a little bit, but it's maintaining. It's pulled all the way back here, it's maintaining, getting this. So again, if we just get the drawing tool back up, and you can see a lot of this happening. Price accelerates, reverses, pick up. So at this point, what I would like to see, okay, ideally, I'd like to see price do this, drop really quickly, okay, into around about the 28,000, maybe a little bit lower, and then snap back, okay, and then start to kind of grind to, to the upside and start to challenge sort of 36. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm expecting. That's what I want to see. Will it happen? I don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean just because that's what I want to see that that's what's going to happen, but that's what I like to do and I do this in my head. I've got a lot, I've got a lot of scenarios that I kind of panned out, and depending on which one of those, unfolds, will give me a much better indication as to what we, as to what we can expect going forward. But we're always mindful of this level down here, okay, the 25,000 and low, and obviously the 20,000 and sort of sub 20,000. These levels are still in play. These levels are still key, and these levels, until price gets back above that 46,000, we're going to be staying down here for some time, kind of grinding and so on. Binance, again, much better response on Binance. I do like the way that Binance is moving. It is showing a little bit more strength. If we go down to the 4 hour on Binance, you can see we're about ready. It looks like it wants to go. The first place it's going to go to is just here, around about 320, if it really starts to go, right? But I'm going to say 340 is kind of the equilibrium point. Would be nice to see Binance at 340 just to kind of lift the market a little bit, give people something to to be a little bit happy about in that respect, kind of even the moods. But again, we have to be mindful that everything that's going on with Bitcoin is effectively key, and if it starts to drop, it is going to pull the rest of the market with it. Ethereum, should I say? Again, there's a lot of liquidity building up down here, but it's more geared towards this level, 1.4, which would be horrendous if it gets down there for miners, myself included. But ultimately, if it stabilizes, Binance stabilizes, and Bitcoin, even if Bitcoin drops a little bit, there is still a possibility that Binance and Ethereum hold, a little bit steady, maybe drop with it, but not so much, and then start to find their way back up to the upside as Bitcoin, sort of reverses and goes back up. But again, we're at the mercy of the markets. We're going to be patient. We're going to wait. We're going to see, and we'll take it from there. So let's go over to this proposal, with them. And just before I do, I'll just quickly show you Luna. Obviously, just forget it, right? There's nothing to discuss on Luna, in the sense of what's going on. You can see that it is literally made the lowest point that it's made so far now. And if we just do this, just to kind of give you an idea, as of about 10-15 minutes ago, like that lowest point was, or is coming in at, where are we? 0.0017479. That's just effectively, that's low. That's the lowest point that we've had on Luna so far. And even if it starts to grind to the upside, the supply on Luna is so insane at this point. Like I said, it's going to take a burn of biblical proportions to get this, anywhere near, out of this mess. UST, again, not really seeing much, in the way of change. We had a nice pop, supposedly, and when I say supposedly, like, it was a nice pop relative to the way that things show up on a chart, but it's just reversed. It seems like it just wants to continue to stay down here. You can see the rally just here, and I think that's just people buying into it, hoping, to make a little bit of money. UST withdrawals are getting stopped. There are problems with exchanges. Prices are not being correctly shown on lots of different feeds. Again, I'm just going to advise caution, be very careful. Personally, I would stay away from UST and Luna. But again, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do, just to kind of advise, and give my thoughts based on the experience over the years that I've had. So let's go over to this Terra ecosystem revival plan. And before I do, I just want to quickly say that I'm not an absolute expert. Obviously, if I say something that's wrong, or doesn't sound right, or is slightly incorrect or whatever, throw it in the comments or jump over into the Discord server. The link is in the description below. We can kind of openly discuss it in there. I always want to make sure that I'm saying things that are on point, and if something's wrong, call me out, please, because I need to understand some of the things that are going on as well. So here he's just explaining, what's going on, what he thinks, and obviously Terra being, such a something to protect and something to try to save effectively. And here he's talking about building, the largest and vibrant developer ecosystem in crypto. Terra Station's, huge, millions of users worldwide. And it's got strong brand recognition and so on, and most people would have heard about it, blah, 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 right? So he's suggesting that validators should reset the network ownership to 1 billion tokens and distribute those tokens, among X people, right? So it's going to be broken up like this. And this is a suggestion, it has to be approved. by the community and obviously the validators. So this is not something that they can just say, yeah, we're going to do it. It has to be, considered and spoken about and obviously adjusted if needed. And then obviously they'll implement it if that's the way they want to go. But ultimately, 400 million tokens or 40% to Luna holders before the depegging event happened. And they're saying here, the last $1 tick before the depeg on Binance should be reasonable. So this is just basically saying they are going to take a snapshot, a dollar, while it was $1 a tick before the depeg, and they're just going to use Binance, as the pricing model, I guess, to say that, that's fine. We'll just use Binance. B Luna, Luna X, and Luna held in contracts should also be recipients minus the Terraform Labs account and this is the Terraform Labs public address. And then the new chain should be community owned, preserving decent ownership of the network in its strongest believers and builders is important. Now, before we continue, I just want to quickly say something. As far as I'm concerned, unless Terra, Luna, UST, whatever, any of them are able to take a snapshot, of everybody's account that was holding UST and Luna at the time of the depegging and at the time of of this happening, and make everybody whole, nothing that they do is going to make a blind bit of difference. To me personally, this feels like it's just brushing it under the carpet. That's how I feel. We've seen this many times throughout the years, not just in the cryptocurrency market. We've seen it in traditional finance. We saw it in 2008, 2009, subprime lending crisis, banks going under, government bailouts, all of it getting swept under the rug. The people that were responsible get away with it and everybody else suffers. We see this time and time and time again, and this is no different, and we'll continue. So 400 million, 40% to UST holders pro rata at the time of the new network upgrade. So as it goes, kind of live and the network is upgraded, 40% of those 1 billion tokens will go to UST holders. And UST holders need to be made whole as much as possible. Anyway, we know this. And obviously, this is the reason that I'm being a little bit cynical and a little bit sarcastic is because I, again, believe that a lot of this could have been prevented. They should have stepped in much sooner. There was absolutely no need for UST or Luna to drop as much as they did. It could have been stopped. It could have been prevented and it could have been mitigated. I honestly, genuinely believe that. I think it was left, to happen because obviously it's the easiest and quickest way to transfer wealth. But again, these are just speculation, my thoughts, opinions. 100 million to Luna holders at the time, at the final moment of chain halt. Last minute marginal Luna buyers should be compensated for their role in attempting to provide stability for the network. That's not what they were doing. People were jumping into Luna because they wanted to make money and they were gambling. Pure and simple, This is absolute nonsense. The other thing is, the chain being halted, right? Blockchains, as far as I'm concerned, should not be halted. They're supposed to be decentralized. We should never feel that our positions that we have in a decentralized market, on a blockchain, because the whole point of us being in this space in the first place is because we want control over our finances, and the blockchain is supposed to give us that, in a decentralized fashion. Being able to halt blockchains is not good. I think this is wrong. I don't think it should be something that's available, because ultimately all you're saying there is it really doesn't matter what you do or what anybody does. We can just halt the chain whenever we feel like it. This is not good. You have all of these nodes and validators throughout the world that are keeping a consensus mechanism going, validating transactions and so on, and still being able to halt a blockchain, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't make sense to me. Going back to the proposal, 100 million, 10% to the community pool to fund future development. Whatever. All Luna besides the third tranche should be staked at the network genesis state. That's basically right at the beginning. And then the network should incentivize its security with a reasonable inflation rate, say 7%, as fees no longer be enough to pay for security without the swap fees and so on. So obviously then he goes into talking about why this distribution makes sense, the future of the Terra network, and he's hoping that the community achieve a speedy consensus on how to revive the Terra ecosystem. He will always be there. But then when people message him, he just basically doesn't get back to people. But anyway, sorry, again, just being cynical, just being sarcastic, because the thing is, I get really frustrated when I see things like this. Ultimately, the damage has been done. Yeah, you're never going to be able to make people whole. I know something needs to be done, of course. Right? I'm not saying leave all of this and just forget about it. Something absolutely needs to be done. There's a question about the BTC reserves as well. Were they used? Have they not been used? There's no real, at least as of the time of this recording, I've not seen or heard anything about the BTC reserves. Apparently they were used, and then now we're hearing that they may not have been used. Some people are just saying burn the Luna tokens, just do a huge burn, and get the thing going again. There's some fantastic suggestions and proposals by the community. Some very smart people out there coming up with some absolutely amazing ideas. And it just seems like they're just trying to find the best way to get out of this mess, and kind of walk away unscathed, and not really thinking about the community and not really thinking about the people that have been absolutely decimated by this, this happening in the first place. That's how I see it. It doesn't mean that is the case, but that's how I see it. These, again, just my thoughts, opinions. Some of the things I said are obviously speculation, but ultimately, like I said, until or if you can take a snapshot of everybody's account at the moment it happened, okay, and make everybody whole on the amount they were holding, both on UST and Terra, and then get everybody back up to speed, because this is affecting projects as well that are trying to launch and so on. Then as far as I'm concerned, anything that you try to do is basically just saving your own skin, and not really thinking about the community, as a whole. For example, and just to reiterate before I go, this line right here, saying the final moments, okay, where people or buyers, should be compensated for their role in attempting to provide stability for the network. This was absolutely not happening in any way, shape or form. People were jumping into UST and jumping into Luna because they were trying to make money, not because they were trying to save the network. Okay. Like I said, I just want to kind of throw that out there before I, kind of wrap this up, because it's important. It's important that we understand, we are in control of the things that we do, yes, but these guys are in control of making people as whole as they possibly can. And I really don't think this does it. But again, speculation, opinion, neutral analysis as always, with a little bit of sarcasm. All right, guys. So I hope everyone's having a fantastic day, and I will speak to you in the next update. Take care.